up, guys? Wonderful world of YouTube. Once again, wanted to talk about another mariachi guitar video. If you click this, obviously you saw the thumbnail or the title and saw, he's gonna talk about guitars. I wanted to also say before I get started talking about this topic, I noticed that I'm getting a lot of subscribers, and that's pretty awesome, man. I never thought that I'd start getting like 500 people watching my stupid videos. Comments have all been really cool. It's all been positive. And so yeah, I just want to say, if you're a subscriber and you're watching this video, thanks. Thank you a lot, because that's pretty cool. It's encouraging. And also wanted to say sorry about the lack of content for the last month. You know, I'm an engineering student. I'm trying to finish my engineering degree. I'm getting pretty close. But at the end of this last semester, I took finals about a month ago, and my brain, you know, between school, work, playing gigs, life, shit going on, my brain just went, was done. It's like this guy right here. It was pretty much, that's pretty much an accurate representation of how my brain felt the last month. I took about a month off from making anything, you know, I mean, I don't want to just be putting stuff out just because everyone else puts shit out every day. You know, if I make something, I want it to be thought out. I don't want it to be bad. If it is bad and I'm just trying my best, then, you know, hey, at least I tried my best, right? I felt like I did something that I liked and that hopefully you guys like too. So enough about that shit. Let's talk about guitars. What's the best guitar for mariachi? I've been playing mariachi guitar for, I don't even know how long anymore, dude. I started when I was about 15. I'm in my early 30s. You guys do the math. It's been a while. What people ask me the most about what is good for a mariachi guitar, right? Is it a classical guitar? Is it a flamenco guitar? How do you choose? Because there's tons and tons of stuff out there. I don't really want to talk about brands. As much as I can avoid as possible in this video, I'm going to try, because most of the questions that I do get are, well, I have a Cordoba, I have a Ramirez, I have some guitar that my uncle's great-grandfather's stepsister left to me. I'm just like, there's tons of guitar makers out there, guys. A more useful thing would be to talk about some things that have to be for a guitar, right? Have to be there for a good, solid mariachi guitar, whether it's flamenco, whether it's classical. There's two parts in this analysis, really. The two parts that I think of in my brain are objective and subjective. The objective stuff is the guitar itself. You know, how it's built, what it's made of, what are its measurements, its characteristics. The subjective stuff is, how does it play? You know, how does it sound? You know, some people have different flavors, man. Some people like whiskey, some people like tequila. It'll get you drunk, but people have different tastes. So the subjective part will be the second part of this video. The first objective thing that the guitar has to have for really any style, I don't care if it's mariachi, classical, whatever, gypsy music, Chinese, whatever your style is, the guitar has to tune. Number one. First thing, absolutely, it has to tune at all positions of the neck. What does that mean? That means that when I play in first position, these first four frets, right? Second position, these 4 frets. Third position, fourth position. It should tune, meaning when I tune it, open string, when I go down, when I go up the guitar, right, the note should be in tune, right? I should be able to play full scales all the way up and all the way down the guitar. And it should tune, right? Tuning of a guitar doesn't have anything to do with its cost, okay? I don't care if it's a $300 guitar or a $3,000 guitar. If it does not tune, if you can't play notes in tune, right, the proper tonation for a guitar, it's firewood, okay? I don't care what maker it is. I don't care what someone's preference is. If you start playing it and the notes, the chords that you play, especially for mariachi music, because you mostly play chords. If you're playing a D, playing a D, right? Versus, right? Sounds like a D. It's a lot of D-ness. That's a lot of D-ness. It all sounds like D. Right? That's 4 positions on the guitar and all tunes, right? Let's see if I can squeeze another one out of here. Is there another one down here? Haha, 5 positions. So it should tune, right? Second objective thing, and really this is kind of like one main category And then a bunch of subcategories of objectiveness. Is that a right word? That's not a right word. The build quality. That's an objective thing. How did the person who built the guitar, or how did the company that manufactured the guitar, in case if you're buying something cheap like Yamaha, or something that's a little less expensive like a Cordoba, lower end model, how did they build it, right? That's an objective thing that I think for a mariachi guitar, there are things you want to have on it, right? So first thing is this action, right? You want to make sure that the bridge and the neck is straight and kind of straight and true, like an arrow, right? You don't want to get something where the bridge is going like that, and you don't want to have something where the neck is going like that, right? Why? Because if you have that structural integrity problem in the guitar, as that goes over time, it's not going to tune. So it doesn't support rule number 1, right? So, and if rule number 1 isn't there, then the whole thing is shit, right? So make sure that the neck and the bridge are properly calibrated and that they're built well enough to withstand the pressure of the tension of the strings. Second thing about the build quality, I always look at the neck, right? So I've got a little bit of a bendy bend, right? You want it to have an angle. And any guitar, and I have a $300 guitar right here that has a lot of problems with it, that has a better angle than this, okay? Has a great angle, so it has a good characteristic, even though it's not an expensive guitar. This has a great angle. None of the strings are touching, right? It's all free, like a piano. Where do you think the sound comes from, right? That needs to be there, okay? The next thing that you want to have is you want to have this tension here. So let's see if I can get it nice and close. Can you see that? So the tension of the guitar, this has a big part to do with this right here. You want to make sure that this is calibrated so that it's not straight, right? You don't want the string to sit on the guitar saddle straight. And that happens over time because you're pulling the string in and out, changing the string, it's vibrating when you play. Especially for mariachi music, it's very, aggressive, and that string vibrates a lot, and it's going to chip away the wood in that hole. So over time, you're going to get this, to get straight. You want it to be like at an angle. You want this to have almost like a 30 or 40 degree angle, right? So that it holds that tension, right? Next thing about the guitar that you want to make sure is there, you want to make sure that the build is solid. And what I mean by that is some guitars, and this is kind of a function of how much money you're going to pay for it, right? When the guitar maker is shaping the wood, right, it starts from just a block. It's all book matched. The top, the sides, the back, it's just one board. The wood should be shaped in a way to where it's not overbuilt. What I mean by overbuilt means that it's very heavy, very dense. For mariachi guitarists, we have a guitar strap here, and we're standing for hours and hours and hours. You want to make sure that the build, when you pick up the instrument, is not heavy, right? Because if you have a heavy guitar and you're playing for hours, you start getting problems in your joints, you get, shit going on in your back. It's not good for you, right? Long-term life goals is to not end up like the Crypt Keeper. Get a guitar that's well built so it's not overly heavy. I'm going to show you a couple of examples. This is a flamenco guitar, right? And so we'll get into some of that subjective, sound in a minute. But this is a pretty high-end flamenco guitar. And high-end, what do I mean by high-end? Okay, so what I mean by a high-end guitar is that I didn't go to Guitar Center to buy this, right? This was made in the 1970s by a luthier, a good luthier, knew what they were doing, right? All the characteristics were there to begin with. Now, I bought this guitar a couple of years ago, and I just recently got it back this past year. The guitar builder that's a friend of mine in Los Angeles, Candelas Guitars, refretted it, did a lot of whatever the magic is that he does, with the bridge, with the angles, the inside, the bracing, the thickness, the tension, all the angles here. And we're talking, millimeters that make a big difference, right? It's not so much that you have to have an expensive guitar for mariachi music. That's an objective thing. Any guitar can, really be served for mariachi, but to get the best guitar, you want to have all those objective characteristics. Here's a good example of that. So this is vintage 1970s Yamaha. You can go into a Walmart and probably find a Yamaha guitar, right? It'll probably sound, if you're paying like $100 for it or $50 or something, it'll probably sound like a box of strings, right? This has a lot of high-end characteristics without being a high-end price, right? And it shows in the sound. This is like a $300 guitar at best, right? It's a little heavy, right? It's got some really dense wood. It's really thick the way it's built, and so it was built very quickly. It means that they didn't take their time to really get it down to the millimeter, level of detail, but they got really close, right? It's got a lot of sound to it, which is a subjective thing, but it's there. It's noticeable. It tunes, right? Well, it used to. There's a problem here where the bridge is kind of, coming up a little bit. I got to get that fixed. It tunes at every position. So I can play this guitar at all positions of the neck. Right? And not worry about, well, when you're playing a requinto or something, right? Right? It's going to be there. The sound is going to be there, and the notes are going to be there because it plays in tune. I don't know if you can see this. It's kind of hard. I don't have like a camera person to zoom in and shit. But there's angles there, right? This one starting to get a little straight. This all have good angle. This one kind of is getting straight like that, but that's easily fixed. Whoa! Now that's quite a bend, right? That's what you find with a lot of Spanish, guitars that are made in Granada or southern regions of Spain. They have this super holy shit bend to their headstock. What is that doing? That means that when the string is strung, it's creating a lot of tension to it. And that's part of where the tension comes from, guys. It's not just the string. It's the entire build of the guitar from the neck. The neck is straight. The bridge is where we're having some trouble. The bridge is kind of starting to do this because it's coming unglued. And it's causing it to move. You hear that at the end? It's making a buzz. Fret buzz, for me, is kind of okay when you're playing chords. You can't notice it as much, right? But when you're playing an open string and there's a buzz to it, that much buzz, I don't know, man. I need to get that fixed. Let's talk about when you're buying something. This is about a $300 guitar, right? If I was going to sell it to somebody, I wouldn't charge them more than $300 for it, otherwise it'd be kind of a crook, right? The problem is to fix the bridge, to make sure that neck angles are all correct, to go over the frets, make sure they have good amount of meat on them, to fix anything inside the guitar. It could cost me $300 to get all that shit done. And so I basically have more money into it by double what the guitar is actually worth to sell. Now, would I do that? I don't know, maybe. Maybe I like the guitar enough to want to do something like that, and then maybe over time use it as like a strict gig instrument so that I can get my money's worth out of it, right? That might be a thing. The only thing about it is that it is kind of heavy. It's a lot heavier than that guitar, and that guitar is bigger than this guitar. So density and weight start to play a factor into your guitar. And this is another example of a classical guitar. Now this is a full-on Holy Mother of God classical guitar. Brazilian rosewood. You hear that? Yeah, it's a beast. It sounds like a beast too if you heard me playing it at the beginning of this video. It's got a lot of overtones. That keeps going. You start to get into the subjective part of this, right? This has, good neck angle. It's not perfect. There's still too much wood. Haha, too much wood. There's too much, material here when they made this, and so those strings touch. Even with a good angle, there's still a little flaw there. But it's got a really almost perfect saddle angle. Every string has like a really deep bend to it, creating a lot of tension. It tunes, right? In all positions when you're playing a chord. It tunes. A guitar like this is probably very expensive to buy brand new. You know, I didn't pay anywhere near what it would cost to have it built, you know, for me. I just changed the strings. But this is a very playable guitar. And that's when we're going to start getting into the subjective part of this video. So, subjective stuff. Number one, playability. Is the guitar suitable for you, for your hands, for your arms, for your body? Is it too heavy? Is it too big? You know, does it mesh well with your hands? For me, this guitar is extremely playable. It has, you know, the neck, you know, the width of the neck, you know, if it's going to be really wide or really narrow, if it's going to be really thin or really fat, you know, that's all subjective. And that's all dependent on you, the player. That's when you get into, is it comfortable for me to play? You know, to play bar chords. Right? Playability is a very subjective thing, but it's probably just as important as the first objective thing, which is tonality. The guitar has to tune, and the guitar has to be playable. If both of those things don't exist when you pick up the instrument and you're going to spend money, don't buy it. I don't care if it's, you know, unless you're a collector and it's just going to sit in a collection and then you're going to try to sell it later. If you're not, you know, if you're a working musician, you don't have time or money, unless you do, which is awesome, to be messing around buying shit that you can't use to work, right? I always say don't settle for a guitar that's not both tonally correct and playable, because you're just going to be wasting your money and your time, right? Because you're going to invest time into an instrument you can't love, right? The playability is a big deal. The second thing is the sound. So this is where you get into, is flamenco better, is classical better, is Ramirez better, is Cordoba better, whatever, right? For me, the subjective truth about mariachi guitar is you want to have a guitar that has all the characteristics of sound. What do I mean? What do I mean by that? All the characteristics of sound. You sound like a hippie. Well, what I'm talking about is when you play a chord, there should be a balance, right? Everything should sound the same, equally like loud and equally voluminous, right? I want to be able to fill a room or fill a stage with sound so I can cut through the trumpet, the violins, the singer, so that you can hear it. Right, so for me, the sound has to be a balance between the treble and the bass strings. It has to be loud and it has to have a full volume, right, so you can hear it. You see a lot of like Ramirez guitars that I've played, they have a loudness because they're designed to be played classically, right? They're not really thinking about playing chords, they're really thinking about playing single lines, you know? So that's why Ramirez guitars sound as bright as they do, because they want to go for that classical playing. Right? This guitar has that. Right? It's like it's nothing. It's like it's playing itself, right? It has those single lines so that you can feel comfortable. Right? Has that characteristic. It also has the volume and the balance. Right? it's playable, it plays in tune. So all of those things are in this guitar. Very expensive guitar. Like I said, this guitar is not very expensive, but it has all the same characteristics. A couple of minor tuning problems with the bridge getting messed up. Right? It's almost, right? It's almost as good as that really holy shit guitar, right? But it dies. You hear how it kind of dies? There's nothing over here. It's kind of all right here, right? That other guitar you play, there's a bunch of shit out there, right? But it has the volume, right? That's what you kind of want. So for mariachi, this is the tits. It's awesome, right? It's cheap, it has all the good characteristics, and it's great for playing mariachi guitar. It's not terribly heavy. See, you don't have to spend a lot of money for a really nice guitar, but the more you spend doesn't necessarily mean the more you get. So you got to be careful with that kind of shit. And again, back to this one. This is a flamenco guitar. It's made out of Spanish cypress. It's 40-year-old Spanish cypress. Has spruce top, right? Traditional flamenco Spanish guitar. Has, because of some of the work that has been done to it also, and the original build, you see that's bright, right? But it's out here, right? I can hear it. I can hear the sound going from the wall back, and it's sustaining. That's what sustain is, when you play an instrument. It's coming back. I can hear it here, but I can also hear it over there, right? And it's got that volume. I think that's about it for the mariachi guitar must-haves. Honestly, the objective stuff is really important. Make sure it tunes, make sure the angles are correct, because if the angles are not right, if the bridge is getting messed up, if the neck is getting messed up, if the inside of the guitar is torn apart or not put together properly, over time it's not going to tune. If you spend a lot of money for something that over time is not going to stay tunable and playable, the subjective thing, playability, it's not worth your time or effort. You want to avoid anything that has bad characteristics objective. And if you get the chance to play it before you buy it, which I always recommend, if it's not playable, but it's a really nice guitar, unless you have time and money to build a collection, not all of us do. I certainly don't. I have to sell a lot of my shit when I buy it. Thanks for watching this mariachi guitar, how to choose a classical guitar video. It's been a lot of fun. Sorry again for the lack of content over the past month. It's been a crazy time. So yeah, guys, thanks a lot for watching. This is just kind of my thoughts, and really, again, you can agree or disagree. This is what I go through in my brain when I look at an instrument and I'm gonna drop some money. Even if it's like $100, all right, $100, that's a lot of meals. Okay, that's at least 2 hours of gigs, right? That's like 20, 30 songs, and that's not cheap. That's, even a cheap guitar is still an investment. You want to make sure that if you're going to buy a guitar from somebody, like at a garage sale or a pawn shop, they got it for $200. If it doesn't have those objective characteristics, I say stay away from it. It's just a waste. It's firewood. Don't buy it. On the other hand, if you have a guitar builder that's going to charge you thousands of dollars for an instrument, and those characteristics are missing, doesn't always tune in every fret position, doesn't have a good neck angle, the bridge is weird, it doesn't have any tension, it's heavy as shit, don't buy it. Right? Don't let anyone convince you that bad characteristics and poor build quality is somehow a thing. It's not, okay? It doesn't help you. It doesn't inspire you to play. It doesn't help you at playing gigs. It's just a waste of money and it's a hustle, all right? So watch out for those two extremes. I know a lot of guys and girls, they use Cordoba, they use Ramirez, they use all kinds of different stuff. I use Candelas. I have a Yamaha here. I've played Cordoba guitars. I've owned a couple. I've owned a couple of Spanish guitars. They're really nice, really bright and holy crazy guitars. I tend to stick with Candelas just because I get what I need out of a lot of the stuff. it's just, hey man, I recommend it. It's what I use. That's where my money goes. Yes, my money. I buy stuff. I pay money. You know, I work with it. I use it at gigs. Okay, so that's what I do. And so yeah, if you guys like it, subscribe. Let me know. Give me some comments, some feedback, and we'll see you guys in the next video. Later. Fuck. Why don't you try not sucking? Let's see here. Shut up, Milo! Whoa, my computer's dying. Hey, wake up. I'm not done working.